You get home, and before you even see the cat, you smell it coming from the litter box. Here's the thing. Fresh cat urine barely smells at all. The smell shows up hours later, once bacteria break urea down into ammonia. But that's only part of the story. Cat urine contains an amino acid called felanine. When it breaks down, it forms sulfur compounds. And those are what give cat urine its sharp, distinctive smell. On top of that, cat urine is highly concentrated. That's why a litter box smells stronger than the waste of most household pets. But there's an ingredient that's been added to premium cat foods for years specifically to cut that smell. It's backed by studies done on cats. We'll get to it shortly. First, though, what actually creates the smell? There are two sources, feces and urine, and each works differently. Feces. When a cat doesn't fully digest protein, the leftovers reach the large intestine, where bacteria break them down. The byproducts are ammonia, indole, scuttle, and sulfur compounds. That's what makes stool smell. The worse the digestion, the stronger the smell. Urine. Urea breaks down into ammonia, and felanine breaks down into a sulfur compound. Both processes kick in once the urine has been sitting for a while. So the smell comes from what happens to the waste after the fact. And here's the key point for this whole video. Dietary supplements mainly act on stool and digestion. Making the smell noticeably weaker is realistic. An early warning sign isn't a constant background smell. It's a sudden change. The smell suddenly gets stronger. A new note appears. Fishy or sweetish. The cat starts using the box more often or avoiding it. So remember what your litter box normally smells like. That's your baseline. A steady, moderate smell is a hygiene and diet issue. A sudden change is a signal from the body. That's next. Some cats smell stronger than others, and usually there are a few specific reasons why. The strongest smell comes from unneutered males. High testosterone means their urine carries especially high felanine levels, making it particularly sharp, and neutering noticeably softens that. Age adds another factor. Kidneys work less efficiently, urine becomes denser, and the smell intensifies along with it. Low water intake pulls in the same direction. A cat on dry food who doesn't drink much produces thicker, more concentrated urine. Food itself matters too. Cheap options high in carbohydrates and low in meat are digested worse, so more odor-causing residue ends up in the box. And the longer that residue sits there, the more time bacteria have to generate ammonia and sulfur. So, infrequent cleaning by itself makes the smell worse. Multiple cats are a separate issue. One box for 3 cats means both a stronger smell and more stress. So the basic rule is one more box than the number of cats. These factors stack. An older, unneutered cat on cheap food with a single litter box is the worst case scenario. But all of this applies to a steady, familiar smell. And here's the most important part of this video. A sudden change in smell follows different rules. It can be the first symptom of illness, and no supplement will fix that. It will only mask it. A strong ammonia smell combined with a cat drinking more and urinating more often can point to kidney disease. A sharp, fishy smell or an unusually strong odor may signal a urinary tract infection or crystals, and the urine may look cloudy or contain blood. A sweet, fruity note is a warning sign of diabetes. There's one rule. If the smell changes suddenly, see a vet first. The supplements in this video are meant for a healthy cat with a normal baseline, not for hiding an illness. If there's even the slightest doubt, that's reason enough for a checkup. Some of the ammonia you smell over the litter box forms right in the cat's gut as it digests protein. This is a normal process, but its scale can be reduced, and that's where the ingredient from the title comes in: yucca extract. It's already been part of many premium cat foods for a long time. The plant's root contains saponins, which bind ammonia in the digestive tract before it ever turns into odor. Studies on cats and dogs have shown that stool odor intensity drops by roughly a quarter this way, a moderate effect, but measurable and real. 2 honest caveats matter here. Yucca acts on fecal odor, not on the sulfur smell in urine, so expect it to soften the smell, not eliminate it. And the effective amount in food is small, around 125 milligrams per kilogram. So, more isn't better. Within recommended limits, Yucca is safe for cats and approved by AAFCO, but too many saponins irritate the stomach and intestines, potentially causing vomiting or diarrhea, so it's not something to add by eyeballing spoonfuls. In practice, the simplest starting point is checking the ingredient list of the food you already buy. Look for Yucca shitigara extract. It's often already there, and owners don't even realize it. If it's missing and you're using a separate powdered supplement, introduce it gradually over several days and watch the stool. A sudden switch or too large a dose will backfire, producing loose stool that smells even worse. The other side of the same problem is an unbalanced gut microbiome. When it's off balance, food is absorbed worse, and the bacteria that produce odor get more to work with. This is where another tool can help: probiotics. These are beneficial bacteria introduced into the gut to improve digestion, and in cats they've been studied specifically, not just carried over from dog research. Studies have shown that certain strains reduce indole, scatole, and ammonia levels in stool while also improving protein absorption. Among them are Bacillus subtilis and Enterococcus faecium strain F68. The latter, for instance, is the basis of the supplement Purina Pro Plan Fortiflora. Most cat probiotics come as a powder sachet mixed into food once a day. The effect builds over time, so give it at least 3 to 4 weeks before drawing conclusions, and don't switch brands every week. A probiotic also pairs well with a food change, which comes next. And to be upfront about the evidence, results depend on the specific strain, and the studies themselves are mostly short and based on small groups, so this is more of a mild support than a guarantee. The most reliable approach is judging the difference in your own cat's stool and smell. The biggest lever is often the simplest one. Cheap food loaded with fillers is digested worse, and all of that difference ends up in the litter box. So start with the food itself. Choose an option where real meat is the first ingredient and cheap fillers are minimal. Brands like Royal Canin or Hill's Science Diet focus specifically on digestibility, and that directly affects stool odor. Switching a cat to new food should happen gradually, over 7 to 10 days, adding a bit more new food and less old food each day, because an abrupt switch causes digestive upset on its own. And again, a stronger smell. The other half of this factor is water. Cats naturally drink little, so wet food helps simply by adding fluid directly to the diet. Set out several bowls in different spots away from the food and try a water fountain. Moving water attracts cats to drink more, and the more a cat drinks, the less concentrated its urine is, and the weaker the smell. The rest comes down to litter and the box itself. Clumping litter is easier to scoop daily, and daily cleaning is the main factor here. Options with activated charcoal or baking soda help trap odor further, while heavily scented litters tend to mask smell instead and put some cats off. Use a layer about 5 to 7 centimeters deep and place the box in a well-ventilated spot, not a cramped, closed cabinet. One more thing to consider. A covered box with a hood keeps odor contained, but that also concentrates it for the cat itself, and some cats start avoiding the box because of it. Together, food, water, and cleanliness account for most of the result, with supplements only helping on top of that. Putting it all together and weighing the evidence honestly, here's the picture. The most reliable dietary tool is Yucca. It's backed by studies on cats specifically, has a measurable effect, and has years of use in pet food. Probiotics are a step below. The evidence is moderate and cat-specific, but strain-dependent and based on short studies, so it's a reasonable but mild form of support. Chlorophyll deserves a separate mention, sold as an internal deodorizer. Liquid Nature's Way Chlorofresh, for example. The idea is that it binds odor-causing compounds in the gut, but the evidence behind it is old, comes from small studies, and is almost entirely in humans. Dedicated studies in cats are essentially non-existent. So at best, it's mild support, not a proven solution. Worth trying, but without high expectations. Spirulina, often grouped together with chlorophyll, is not worth buying for odor control, and this needs emphasis. First, the deodorizing effect is attributed to chlorophyll specifically, not spirulina, and there's simply no evidence that it reduces litter box smell. Second, there's a safety concern. Spirulina can contain heavy metals and microcystins, toxins that harm the liver, especially when a different species, Aphanisamenon from Klamath Lake, is sold under the same label. It also stimulates the immune system, which is undesirable for cats with autoimmune conditions, and cats are more vulnerable than we are given their smaller body mass. The odor benefit is minimal, and the risks are real. Finally, don't overlook what works outside the food bowl. When a cat misses the litter box, ordinary cleaning products remove the visible stain, but leave uric acid behind, which reactivates with moisture, bringing the smell back. Enzymatic cleaners, like Nature's Miracle, break down uric acid specifically, so use them properly. Blot up the liquid, apply the cleaner generously, let it sit as directed, and let it air dry rather than wiping it off right away. One more thing that's often overlooked. The plastic of the litter box itself absorbs odor over time, and no amount of washing fixes that, so it's worth replacing the box entirely every year to year and a half. Combined with ventilation and daily cleaning, this affects the noticeable smell more than any supplement. The main takeaway is where to start. First, make sure the smell is a household issue, not an illness. If it changed suddenly, there's only one path: to the vet. And when the cat is healthy, everything else adds up to a simple, entirely realistic formula: good food, a clean litter box, plenty of water, and yucca in the diet.